Now, talks between Russia, the US and the UN's envoy to Syria have failed yet again to find a solution on how to deal with the conflict. Lakhdar Brahimi met with US and Russian diplomats for 5 hours in Geneva, but they could only agree to talk some more. All sides stress that there can be no military solution to the Syrian conflict.
As the bloodletting continues, international mediator Lakhdar Brahimi held talks with senior US and Russian officials in Geneva. The negotiations, held behind closed doors, appear deadlocked as the two world powers disagree over Assad's fate in any transition. The Syrian government has branded Brahimi as flagrantly biased, casting doubt on his ability to orchestrate an end to the 21-month-old conflict. For war-weary Syrians, severe weather is adding to the difficulties. As hundreds flee the fighting on a daily basis, Saudi Arabia has announced a €7.5 million aid package to assist Syrian refugees stranded in Jordan. As many as 600,000 have been displaced since the conflict began, and more than 60,000 people have lost their lives.
We are all very, very deeply aware of the immense suffering of the Syrian people, which has gone for far too long. And we all stressed the need for a speedy end to the bloodshed, to the destruction, and all forms of violence in Syria.
Brahimi insisted there could be no military solution to this conflict, which has claimed more than 60,000 lives, according to United Nations figures. He's under fire right now from the Syrian government itself, which has accused him of being biased. Why? Because in an interview with the BBC earlier this week, Brahimi said that Syrians were saying that Bashar al-Assad and his family had been in power for 40 years, and it was probably enough. It was time for some kind of a transition that would probably not include him. He stood by those comments at a press conference with journalists on Friday, which is probably not going to make the Syrian government happy.
Opposition forces say they're now in complete control of the airbase. Difficult to independently substantiate, but our sources are suggesting that is the case. The question is whether they're in total control of the airbase and for how long they can keep control of it. But in the short term, yes, it's a big strategic win for the opposition. The pictures here show shelling of the airbase. That suggests shelling by government forces trying to push the rebels back. That would seem unsuccessful. We've also seen unsubstantiated pictures which have appeared on the internet as well of the rebels apparently inspecting helicopters, inspecting weapon stashes at the base, which shows that they are at least in control of some of it. The suggestion being that the military had blown up some of the helicopters because they knew that they were retreating, couldn't hang on to the base, and they didn't want the helicopters to fall into the hands of the rebels. The importance in all of this is that that base had been used by the government to attack rebel positions, so it is of huge strategic importance.
Taftanaz Air Base is strategically located, lying on the highway between the capital Damascus and the embattled city of Aleppo. It's considered the biggest base in the country's north and can accommodate some 60 helicopters, aircraft that's been used to bomb rebel-held areas and deliver supplies to government troops. It's for this reason that air bases have been a prime target for the Syrian rebels, who've become increasingly reliant on jihadist factions to help them fight. The rebels are running short on weaponry and need hauls, like this one seized from another northern airport.
We fire with great accuracy to ensure that we don't waste any of the shells that we have procured from the regime.
The fighting has also infringed on civilian air traffic. Aleppo International Airport has been forced to close since the beginning of the year.